Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, and tonight you're in my podcast live, How to Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. Now, the CPS, I say what CPS stands for. It's a Child Protection System. Now, the Child Protection System in every state in the counties may have a different acronym. But it's all the same. If it deals with protecting of our children, and it deals with the neglect of our children, that is the CPS system I'm talking about. Furthermore, they're supposed to help assist families in the need of food, shelter, clothing, education, medical, and work, a job. And, that's besides protect our children and from neglect and abuse, is also to help assist the family in need of these services. Furthermore, if it's necessary for them to break apart a family because of things that the parents may allege to have done, then they're supposed to do what's called family reunification to put the family back together. Because studies have proven that the best parents are the biological parents. So the child protection system should be doing all these things. But what you found out yourself, that it seems like the majority of the child protection systems in each county and each state has become very corrupt. It's all about making money. And I tell this firsthand experience from Southern California. I was caught up in the Orange County CPS. And I had an awful time getting my children back. And my children were in good hands with us parents, but they put our children in danger when they traffic our children and alienate our children from their parents. You see, trafficking is illegal. We have trafficking all the time. I live in one of the highest areas of child trafficking. More children are kidnapped per square mile than any other place where I live. And it's because of the ports of Los Angeles and the ports of Long Beach. They have container shipping, and they are kidnapped and shipped in these containers and shipped overseas to do sex trafficking, household services, and other kinds of remedial jobs. Their passports are taken from them, or their IDs or whatnot. And they're helpless because this happens so fast. And I'm sad to say that the child protection system is not protecting our children from neglect and abuse. There are thousands of cases that go unintended, and it seems like the child protection system has found a way to go after low income and not very well educated parents. And people that make assumptions or allegations are not necessarily talking the real things happen to the child. They're using it in retaliation. In my case, my family, my wife and I, was wrongly accused by her family, her mother, father, her three sisters, and her brother, of not taking care of our children, which is far from the truth. They took advantage when I lost my job to start calling CPS. They're in Ohio, and they were calling CPS in California. And one of my wife's sister is a social worker that works in social works. So she knew how that we could they wanted our children. They never wanted us to get married. They never supported our marriage or our birth of our three children. But our children have turned out great. They're well educated, well mannered, and they wanted to adopt our children. So my case was horrible. I've been there. I know what you're going through. CPS, it can't be trusted. And I'm afraid no matter what state you're in, it's awful. I've been dealing with Richmond, Kentucky, and a woman that lives there. She is, her name is Faith Manley, and she is a loving mother who's taking care of her special needs son. She's trying to get guardianship of her son. He's now in his 20s. Unfortunately, she lost her daughter at an early age. Because she was in foster care as a young child 5 times. She was in it where she was raped and molested and trafficking as a teenager and sex trafficking. She's experienced the whole gamut as a young child. Her mother had drug problems and she loved her mother, but her mother got her into that foster care system is where she was until she grew up to be an adult. And then she put her way through high school and then got a college degree in nursing. She started to start a family of her own, had 2 children, but because of her record involvement in CPS, they wanted her 2 children. They're really needs. Now, she had to make a choice between her young daughter or her older son, who is a special needs child. And that's wrong for any social worker to put a mother through to choose between what parent. I mean, if she's fit enough for her son, she's fit enough for her daughter. But she's low income. She barely has enough for food on the table, and she's trying to make it ends meet. And she's a beautiful person. She's been an advocate on my show, and I really care about Faye and the advice she's given and what she's told me about Richmond, Kentucky. It seems like I'm very naive at times to think, how could a government agency be so corrupt? But after talking to every state in the United States and 14 countries around the world, I have come to realize that CPS is very corrupt and it's all about money. To them, it's a $1 trillion business, not billion, not million, but $1 trillion business. And the way the funds they receive are when the case is open, that's when the funds start running in. The county opens the case based on allegations from lay people and professionals. Now, professional people are trained to know what neglect and abuse are, but lay people don't. And a lot of lay people use it as revenge to get their neighbor, or they want to do it during a divorce, get one parent over the other parent for the children, or some other reason, some other stupid reason. The only problem is that when the CPS hears the complaint, automatically the parents are guilty. It isn't like you're not guilty until you're proven guilty. You're guilty until you're proven innocent. And that is sad because they treat you that way. Now, they will not follow your constitutional rights or civil rights. They'll walk all over you. They'll muscle their way into your home and try to take your child, even though they can't legally do so. There's only certain ways they can take your child legally. But they don't go by the law, and neither does the police that back them up. Either the police are stupid or somebody's missed the boat here. Because the best parents are the biological parents. Studies have shown that. And if a parent is deficient in areas of neglect or abuse, that's something that a parenting class or a program could help do. And it's a temporary thing because they need to bring the family back together. It shouldn't be about money. And I can't say for sure that you'll get your child back if you go along with what they ask. All I say is do not talk to them, say very little to them, be polite, get names and phone numbers, but contact an attorney. You need a specialized attorney with this matter, a specialized attorney. And I want to welcome somebody into the room. Natalie, wow, haven't seen you in ages. Natalie is a single mother with 2 children, and she comes into my room every so often, and she's from West Hollywood. I'm hoping that hoping that Faye will join us. But right now, Faye is going through a lot of turmoil. Um, the owner of her place she's renting from is selling her place. She's out of food because they lost power and she had to throw away all her food. It was so sad. Faye lives in a rural area of Kentucky and the suburbs of Richmond. And it's so bad there, the police lie and so forth. And I don't know if any of you heard of Nancy Schuler, but she was a senator in the state of Georgia, not a congressperson, but a senator in the state of Georgia who advocated against CPS. She wanted to shut down the whole system and restart over again. That's how bad it was. But her and her husband were murdered, and to date, I have not seen who killed them. There's been a lot of theories made, but we don't know. We don't know because she was getting too close to shutting it down. And so we got to be careful out there when you talk to CPS workers. Now I'm going to, let me see here. See if I can get Faye to join us. Yes, Nancy Scher is a Georgia senator. No, she's not a senator of Georgia in Congress. She's a senator of the state. She's a state senator. And we don't know that for sure, Natalie. It's important that I've yet to see an article that said for sure that the child protection system killed them. She's in the Georgia senator meeting, not like the Congress senator in the House. I don't know why it's always so hard to find my tabs. I had a thing. Now, Nancy Schaefer was an advocate against the corruptness of CPS, not protecting our children and abusing families that were good parents, but because they took advantage because of the low income or education. I'd like you all to listen for a moment. That Nancy Schaefer spoke out about Child Protection Services. This is March of 2010, and how the corrupt family court system is. So, y'all listen for a moment. I'm going to play Nancy Schaefer's speech. I got to get it, the volume turned up. All right, I'm going to do the beginning. Hello, I'll be right with you. Who's this?
My name is Diana.
Okay, hold on, Diana. I'm playing the audio thing for the podcast. It'll be done shortly. Hold on. What area are you from, Donna?
Texas.
From what country? You said from Cyprus? Um, Hold on. I'm trying to. Uh, okay, I'm still not finding what I'm looking for. Okay, we just heard from Nancy Schaefer about how she wants to close it down. Sadly, she was murdered recently, and she's no longer with us. Thank you, Natalie, for mentioning that Hillary Clinton wanted to get rid of Nancy Schaefer. Um, I don't know if she wanted to because her husband, Bill Clinton, had signed into some important laws for CPS. So I'm a little confused why her husband would say that. Anyway, I want to welcome to all my listeners here. We had someone just call in on my phone, and I'll get back to them in a second. I do want to go over how you can interact with this podcast. There are 4 ways to interact with this podcast. The first way is by joining me in this room. You found me fighting CPS on Facebook, and I'm broadcast on YouTube and use the StreamYard application. And I'm glad you all found me, and it's a warm welcome. I may not have all the answers, but I want to help you. I'm not a lawyer, but I can certainly tell you from my own experience and from talking to 500 people or more about what to do when you're caught up in a CPS case. Now, the first way to interact is us being in this room. That is great. You can do emojis. That's where you use thumbs up, hearts, or smiley faces. Also, show me some stars. Now, if you like to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button below. And also, if you want to know notifications of when I'm live, please check the notification button. Now, I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. I come on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour, and I come on again in the evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. There is exceptions. On Sunday, like this morning, I was on at 8 o'clock because I go to church at 10 o'clock. So I do my podcast a couple hours early. Also, next Friday, I'll be at Friday Night Lights, the football game, and I'll be doing my podcast at 4 o'clock instead of at 7 o'clock. That's next Friday, October 4th. I will keep you informed. But being in this room is all you have to do and listen, take notes. But if you want to speak and do a text a message, you can do so. Okay, Natalie, 1 second there before you call in, okay? 1 second, and then you can explain about what Hillary Clinton did and what President Bill Clinton did. I'd be glad to hear that from you. One moment, please, so I can get the 4 ways of interacting with this podcast. Now, if you want to type in something like a question or a comment, make sure it's about CPS. Please list your first name, just your first name, the city or county your case was in, and the state. Now, I've also heard from countries around the world. These are the world broadcasts. I've had about 14 countries. Please list your city and country when you call in. And be very complete with your CPS case. Try to describe, the makeup of your family, how it got started with the allegations, the children, the ages, and the reasons they took your children and how they took your children. And lastly, where you at, the beginning, the middle, or the end. And so that way, when you text in, you start off with all that. And then the same thing goes true if you call in. Now, a third way is that you can schedule to be a guest on our podcast. I can take up to 9 people on here. I have room for a total of 10. And all you have to do is email my show producer. Her name is Grace, and the email is grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And she'll help you get on the show as my guest. She'll give the link. Don't lose it. If you get knocked off, you can reuse it again. Further, she'll tell you what you can do and not do, like no smoking or eating, and we don't use children's names or judges' names or social workers' names. She will tell you other things about your lighting and what, shape up your show. I prefer you use a computer, but a phone's okay. So just email her that I want to be on Bob's morning show or evening show on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. That's all you have to tell her. And then she'll take care of the rest. She'll contact you, give the link, and then she'll help you get on, and you're all set to go. And I want to thank Grace for doing all this work. She works hard behind the scenes. Now, the fourth way is when I put my phone number up. I had it up and had someone actually call me. I think they said they were from Cyprus, a country called Cyprus, the Middle East. I'm going to try real quick, Natalie, before I have you call in, Natalie. So let me say. Also, Faye has sent me some info about a person named Nancy Ross that I'm going to try to get on. And that she was also murdered, which is really sad, about someone else that was trying to fight CPS. Now, let me go ahead and try the phone call for the person that called in, and then I'm going to go to Natalie next. Let me see here. Calls.
now subscriber you are trying to reach is not available. Please leave your message after the tone.
Yeah, hi there. You had called me, and I'm returning your phone call. And please call me back at my office number here. This is Bob Pace with Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. The number is 626-698-0990. I'm live to 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And then there's another number that was, she tried to call 3 times, the Clearwater one. So okay, now we're going to go ahead and okay, I also sent her a text message. Now, Natalie, if you want to call in, go ahead and call in and you can explain about Nancy Schaefer. Faye is listening, and she's from Richmond, Kentucky, a wonderful woman, a nice lady, and she has given me some links that I'll talk about in the show shortly. So I'm waiting your call, Natalie. I'm waiting your call.
Hello?
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you. Very good.
All right, good.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. I just wanted to welcome you to the podcast. And you're Natalie from West Hollywood, California, correct?
Yes, this is Natalia from West Hollywood, California. Hi, Bob.
Hi, I like you to explain to the room that what Hillary Clinton did, but Bill Clinton did something with CPS in that year
Yes,
too as
so
president.
let's backtrack all the way first to Bill Clinton.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
He was our president for 2 terms, right?
Yeah.
So from the 90s to in the 90s. So anyway, he had an idea to keep, to have children, and his wife, Hillary, she's an attorney at that time, and she was helping him. So he had an idea that the foster care children should be permanently placed with foster parents and have all the parental rights removed. So basically, they had to figure out a way, because this is like their way to take the Social Security money and which is Title IV money, into the foster care. So all parents, no matter what, their rights will be removed. And the states would have to adopt it because they will be getting federal funding anyway through foster care. So Hillary Clinton actually helped Bill Clinton write the Adoption Permanency Act of 1997. So then it kept going on, and then Nancy Schaefer, she was elected as senator in Georgia. I don't know how many terms she had, but she kept seeing how corrupt this was going on, and then she actually went to Washington and fight this in some way, because she's a senator, and she wrote a 5,000-page report. And in her speech, she said that they had to find more merchandise, more kids to steal. And I think Hillary Clinton wrote her a letter and even confronted her, saying that, you shouldn't be doing this. So she really wanted to get rid of her somehow, because it was like an affront to what she wanted. And then later on, in 2005, her husband was handicapped. He was in a wheelchair, and they were planning to go visit their grandchildren for a birthday party, and somehow they found them murdered, and it was like a murder-suicide. But in my heart, I don't believe a handicapped man could in that condition. I think he even had a stroke, and he had limited mobility to shoot his own wife. I don't. It looks suspicious to me.
So, in layman terms, what did Bill and Hillary Clinton do?
Well, basically, they wanted to steal Title IV money and steal our kids.
Okay, they want to steal the Title IV money. Now, what was the Title IV money all about?
That's Social Security money. So that funds, those payments for the foster care, like once you get those kids.
Okay.
The foster parents. And also continuously can probably continuously fund foster care, but foster care has a different, I think they have a different section of funding, but it's all in one. So basically it allows you to adopt a child through foster care much faster even.
Right.
So
Because that was in November 19th, 1997, excuse me.
97.
Yeah.
November 79. No, Bill Clinton. No,
Yeah.
Well,
He
I was
signed
around. Nobody
into
was
law
like that.
it was
I
called
was like 6 months old. Okay?
it was called the Landmark Adoption and Safe Family Act
Right.
to help thousands of children waiting for foster care to move quickly. So when you say
Right.
waiting, were they waiting after the parents' rights were already terminated?
Yes. All your rights are terminated.
Now, how were they able to terminate?
If you look in the Adoption Permanency Act, it says your rights will be terminated. It was just as simple as.
Well, I know they have, but they have to have a reason. That not every parent is going to get their rights terminated right at first. There has to be a reason to terminate.
Not at first, but it's designed so that the state has to like follow the reunification, all that. But sometimes they don't. In my case, the judge, she didn't want to reunite me with my son.
And what was her reason why they didn't want to reunite you with your son?
Her explanation was fruitless.
Say that again, Natalie.
Her explanation was fruitless.
Formation was fruitless. I don't understand.
No, it's fruitless. It's like basically it's not necessary.
Well, they have to have a reason, don't they?
She didn't have a reason. It was just she just said that I don't get reunification.
Faye has been
get a reunification with my daughter.
Right. Faye was informing me that they don't use reasons. There's no guarantee if you follow them.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with Faye 100%. There's no reason.
Right.
She's listening. There's no reason.
Right, and they don't
have no reason.
Yeah, and they don't have to they don't guarantee that they reunite the family. They don't guarantee they reunite the family.
So this thing is basically the adoption, because it became like they voted it in even. Because Congress would have to vote this in. It's not just because he made the law. They can just, they would have to vote it, but then he could also have vetoed it, but he didn't want to because it's his own law. His wife made that law too.
Yeah, now was it voted in by Congress?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know the outcome. So they made a law.
Because, you can make a law as the president, right? But they still have to.
They have to ratify it. I know the president can make a law, but it has to be ratified by Congress.
Right.
So that's why I was asking.
They have to have the number of the votes. I forgot because but I will look it up again. But this became federal law, and then the only thing that I had no idea at that point. Why is this happening? Is so they can take more kids. That's why they're having more kids because they can get easy adoption. Before you couldn't have easy adoption. Yes, there were foster parents, and yes, you could apply to have adoption, but more kids. So they wanted to have the kids transcend faster to be adopted rather than to stay in the system longer. But it still is unconstitutional because the waive of parents' rights, because under the 14th Amendment, your parental rights are federally protected.
Oh, so if they ratify that, wouldn't that interfere with the 14th Amendment of your federal rights?
Yeah, it does. It does, and also your civil rights.
Oh, okay.
So you have that. There's some civil. I don't know the code of your civil rights. So it intercedes and deflects what the true law is, because your 14th Amendment is it should be protected because it's constitutional, but the Adoption and Parental Act somehow has gotten in the way. So we have to even interact with this thought and this, because basically, theoretically, this law is basically illegally. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
We as parents have more rights than we know.
Okay.
But since they have made this law and also CPS, they don't know the law. And if they did know the law, they just people don't know the law, and so it gets overridden. It's bad. So we see in the court system how they have to protect their own interests rather than our interests, and that is not what originally the Constitution was intended to be, because our Bill of Rights actually, I've seen the Bill of Rights in 1989, the original one, okay? And even though I could read it, I mean, it's quite fascinating. I mean, it came out of this, like, I've seen it, out of this. It's quite amazing to see it out of this machine where you can see it through a glass protective cover. Basically, it really makes sure that we are always protected. But since the United States has made itself into a corporation, and then these agencies for Chevron 1984 hearing, a Supreme Court judgment allow them to interfere in our lives more. But now they've they've actually they changed that judgment down so they can't. But unfortunately, the agencies such as DCFS have gotten too awry, and then after that, we as parents don't have the knowledge to know what's going on, and it's unfortunate because medical kidnapping is a very big industry.
Yes.
Because they could get a fresh baby, and the hospital, they purposely neglect your child and make stories about you so they don't have to, so they can run a high insurance bill and take the child and get a kickback from DCFS. There's a lot of things that we have to know. And also, there was a case also in the California Appellate Court in 1942 where your parental rights should be secure no matter what.
Well, right now, someone is blocking Faye Manley's comments on my show. Your comments are coming in fine. I've seen all your comments. I got SteamYard, then after SteamYard, I got Natalie Hi. I got Natalie. Yes, bad always the DCF police. Stupid, you said.
Yeah.
Busy but here. Nancy Schaefer, a senator, Georgia. DCF killed them. She made 5,000-page report on how DCF steals money and kids. Hillary Clinton wants to get rid of Nancy Schaefer. I called in and explained, okay, that's what you did. And your last comment is, I'm here, okay. And then you said, okay, I'll call. But Faye she's texted me the comments. She's being blocked. And I don't know if that is true, but Faye says this. She was murdered because she entered the CPS agencies. Of course, they won't admit it,
Yes.
but everybody knows it. So Faye says that she was murdered. Also, Faye says,
Yes.
just like Biden, you think he admit he was behind any of Trump's shootings. Same with Nancy Schaefer. Faye further says she gave me a web link, and then she gave me a second web link, and then let me see. She's had to make copies of all her comments that she's putting in that someone's blocking. Bill Clinton was adopted, so he was behind the adoption push. Faye further says,
well, he was adopted.
yeah,
but I think his stepfather adopted him.
right. Faye then says he and Hillary placed houses for workers to hurry children into adoption by fast track. Faye also says they tell you when they take your kids that that they are concurrently planning agencies, and meaning although we're working to reunite, they're working to find adoptive permanent placement for your children that even if you do not know. Yeah. Yes. And I'm not arguing that. She also says behind the adoption push, he and Hillary place bonuses for workers to hurry children into adoption by fast track. Faye also says they tell you when they take your kids that they're concurrently planning agencies, meaning although you're working for Reunite, they're working to find adoptive permanent placement for your children, that even if you do that plan, it does not guarantee your kids' return.
It doesn't guarantee anything. The plan is just basically to show that you did it. But
I'm so confused of why Faye's comments are being blocked. I have no idea. No one's ever done this before.
Her comments are being blocked. It seems suspicious to me, but I mean,
yes,
I agree with her comments. I'm not.
She can hear me. Right, so. She can hear me, and she's on the show, but somehow she is blocked from her comments are blocked from my show. So I need to talk to my show producer, Grace, Monday and find out why one of my constituents' comments are blocked. It's really a shame that I cannot see Faye's comments, but I see your comments. So I don't know where they're at. And maybe someone doesn't want to know the truth that we're all talking on here. I don't know.
Well, they try to do that stuff because they don't they don't want to know the truth, and they just don't want us to explain these things because basically they want parents to lose their kids. And a lot of parents, now this is crazy, but I was reading on YouTube or something but saying, that a lot of people they don't even know that DCFS exists. And there's I was reading even a the Quora one where this guy and his wife was living in a tent. Should they let TCFS in a tent? It was really funny, but I was like, when someone advises them not to do anything and move from their tent, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm telling Faye, when I speak. I'm going to ask Faye if she wants to call in. Okay, she also sent me about another person that was killed that was on top
Okay.
of things. And you may not know this person. She sent me a link. I'm going to the link right now. Oh, this is the first about Nancy Schaefer, and this came from a link she gave me. And her fight against CPS kidnapping causes her murder. And this is a Healthy Impact News by, okay, I'm going to let her call in. Faye, can you hear me?
Yeah,
It seems like someone's blocking your comments.
I don't know. I haven't done anything to get blocked.
I know you haven't. I don't understand. See, I told you a couple days ago, StreamYard came out with a new format, or my producer has a new format that she hasn't told me about. It's just weird because Natalie did the same thing. Natalie texted me a comment. I can see all Natalie. She sent in about 20 comments, but I've not got one of yours. One of yours. Did you want to talk about this Nancy Schaefer? You gave me this article I can read. I will read it. I'll read it. I'll read it. You listen. Go ahead.
Nancy was, pretty much telling all the dirt, and they didn't like it. And, well, they was afraid that it was going to cause them to not be able to do business as usual. So they found a way to shut her up.
Yeah. Well, this article is written by Brian Shivy from the Health Impact News. And he said that Georgia Senator Nancy Schaefer may have known more about state-sponsored kidnapping than any other politician in the United States before she was murdered in March of 2010. Her published report, The Corrupt Business of Child Protection Service, was the basis for many lectures and interviews she gave on the topic. I also saw she went to Amsterdam with families and gave some talks there. She claims the report caused her to lose her Senate seat to the Georgia state senator. So she lost her state Senate seat. However, there are causes worth losing over. The cause was no big, however, that there are some who believe she lost more than just her job. They believe she lost her very life. On March 26, 2010, police from Halbashan County, Georgia, reported that they had found Nancy Schaefer and her husband, Bruce Schaefer, dead in their house. The official report was that it was murder-suicide and that Bruce Schaefer had killed his wife and then turned his .38 caliber revolver handgun on himself. Their daughter...
I want to say something about that. Hold on a minute.
All right, okay.
So one of the things, there was a follow-up, and the children from their marriage, daughters and sons, were on, I can't remember if it was like 60 Minutes or, I don't know, but there was an interview with the children. And the children stated that there was no serious problems in their marriage, that they had rarely in their years growing up even heard their parents raise their voices at each other. And that if they did ever have arguments, it never met a level of any type of violence. So it was really odd that just all of a sudden her husband would kill himself and then her.
Right. Well, this article is pretty good. It's their daughter reported found them in their bedroom, and investigators say they discovered a suicide note as well as notes to each of the couple's live children. However, many have questioned the official police report. Mark Davis of the Atlanta Journal Constitution published an article on April 4th, 2010. And the question was what really took to Two Lies and Schaefer's case. Some experts from Mark Davis' article, and yet people ask, they talked about a twosome that was rarely apart. They talked about a woman who achieved renown for her unapologetic stands against abortion and overzealous child protection services. You hardly ever saw them without the other. And Robert Blister Smith, who Bruce often visited when Nancy came to town from her Clarksville home to get her hair done. A total native, Smith saw Bruce Schaefer on the last Tuesday of his life when he stopped by the Smith's furniture store. He seemed like his old self, said Smith. I have a hard time believing it happened like that. Nancy Schaefer was a former officer of the Georgia Baptist Convention, and the Baptist Press also ran a piece on the murder. Now, they also raised the question of whether the police report was accurate. At least one friend of Schaefer has questioned the murder-suicide theory. Garland Freeman, founder of Voters Organized for Trusted Election Results in Georgia, circulated an 11-page, two-page bulletin via internal stating it's more obvious that the case is murdered may look like suicide. Favorite cited the Christian faith and pro-life beliefs of the Schaefer, and they told their I'm sorry my phone turns you off.
Sorry.
I was trying to read this article because my time's running out. We're going to have to finish this because my time is slowly running out. But I'm really quite concerned about your safety here, Faye.
Yeah.
That why are you being blocked from my podcast? There's no reason you can't be blocked on this podcast. It's open. So I will ask Grace Monday morning. Now, for all you that are listening here, we've had a very interesting article about Nancy Schaefer, who was going to blow a lot of CPS out of the water for what the damages that they were doing. I want to thank Natalie, who shared a lot on her phone call, and also Faye has shared a lot. Faye has another person that was murdered similar to Nancy that I'll talk about tomorrow in my morning podcast. I want to see you all guys tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I appreciate you all listening. This has been a different show tonight, so hopefully you can play back the recording and hear it again. God bless you. Please do not stop fighting for your children. Please not to. So good night and God bless you all.